Maybe. My projector is also lopsided, just in case you didn't know. Yeah, I had a student tell me yesterday, Miss, why does the screen look kind of tilted? I went, because the projector's lopsided. What happened to it? I don't know. I mean, it's not like I hit it or anything. But I gotta make sure I'm recording because it's been helping people this week. So I don't want to not record and then. Okay. Exactly. Okay, last day of interpreting the meaning of parts of each expression in context. So criteria for success. At this point, everyone should have this in their notebook, whether it was Monday, Tuesday, or today. Our criteria is the following. Read the problem, reread to picture what is happening, underline important information, and all three of those steps are the steps that we normally take when we do word problems anyway. So those we already are used to doing. Step 4, draw out your table. Step 5, is it an increase or a decrease problem? Step 6, is it 1 plus or 1 minus? Step 7, write the expression used to solve the problem. Let's go ahead and look at our first problem. So for those of you at home, take a minute to make sure you have it written in your notebook. Make sure you have the words, the answer choices, and the table. So los que están en la casa, asegúrense de tener este problema entero escrito en su libreta. Las palabras, las respuestas, y también la tabla. It says, a store is having a 25% off sale on sweaters. Marion wants to purchase a sweater that has an original cost of $49.99. Which expression represents the final cost of the sweater if the store has a sales tax of 6.75%? Okay, so for you in the classroom, your tables are big enough to where I'm going to have you actually draw a line through the middle. Draw a line through the middle of each of those 3 blocks. Why? Because since it's a 2-step problem, we're going to need more space. So like I did I'm going to show you an example of what I mean. For those of you at home, make sure you are drawing the table. And you're going to need more boxes than the ones that I drew. So la tabla, cuando la escriban, los que están en la casa necesitan asegurarse que tenga más cajas de los que yo puse. So all the way through all of them.
Oh, you want to make the other one? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize that I needed to add more.
But since I made it so big on
Oh, they
here,
could pack it, yeah.
they can just pack it, yeah. I kind of want to print out a couple more just for you.
You still have to do it on the page. Already she'll print them out for you.
So I'm going to go ahead and go through, read it one more time, and underline while you underline it in your notebooks. So a store is having a 25% off sale. So that's going to end up being step 1. So remember, when we have our two-step problems, we come up here, we do step 1, step 2. When it says is having a 25% off sale, is that an increase or a decrease? It is a decrease. Because it's a decrease, are we going to add or subtract? We're going to subtract. So I'm going to put that minus sign right next to it. Marion wants to purchase a sweater that was originally $49.99. Which expression represents the final cost of the sweater if the store also has a sales tax of 6.75%? Well, sales tax is an increase or decrease? It is an increase. Remember, you should have the keywords in your notebook somewhere. If you don't, you can write them down. They're on the screen. You will need them for this. Is an increase a plus or a minus? It is a plus. So we've got our 2 steps set up there, and we're ready to go ahead and start our problem. So we start our problem just like normal. We start with our title row. So we have original, we have increase, decrease, and we have new amount. So even though it's 2 steps, it's the same process as when we did the 1 step. So es el mismo proceso que tomamos cuando hacemos el de un paso. Okay, so from here, what is our original price? $49.99, yes. And we said that our first step is an increase or a decrease? It is a decrease. Do I know my new amount? No, so I'm going to go ahead and put a question mark. Our original percent is always going to be what? 100%. Good. And we said we're subtracting, so I'm putting minus. How much? 25%. Good. Because our discount is 25%. So what is 100 minus 25? 75. Good. So 75%. Remember, you're not putting the percents in your calculator when you're subtracting. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my decimals. So what is 100% as a decimal? 1. It is 1. 1 minus, what is 25% as a decimal? 0.25. So, and I was explaining this next part, I think, to my 4th block yesterday. What is 1 minus 0.25? It's 0.75. So you can actually either subtract, or you can take that 75% and just turn it into a decimal. So if you're subtracting and you get a different weird number and it doesn't match the percent above, then that means you probably did something wrong. So now we're going to go ahead and solve for our first step of expressions. So what did we say our original price was again? $49.99. You guys are going to make me pass out up here. I'm yawning. You're the one yawning. So now I'm going to go ahead and figure out my first expression, which is what? 49.
times 40.
Thank you. Times 0.25. So that's my first expression. Remember, you're using the original times the decimal above. And now my new amount expression is going to be what? Good. 49.99 times 0.75. Same thing. Our original times the decimal above. So that is just step one. Because remember, this is going to give us the new price with just the discount taken off. But now I need to add the sales tax. So you guys have more boxes. I have to add mine on. Okay, so remember, we're taking this final expression and we're moving that over and it's going to be our new amount. So my new original for my second step is 49.99 times 0.75. And everyone should be able to remember this from when we did it back in September or October. Same exact thing. I'm trying to give you a little bit of time to make sure everybody's written everything down. Okay, so for step number 2, did we say it's an increase or a decrease? It is an increase, so I'm going to go ahead and write increase in here. Do I know my final amount after both things? No, I don't. Okay, so same steps as the first one. What is our percent of our original? 100%. We're adding because it's an increase, and our sales tax is what percent? 6.75%. So we're going to do 100 plus 6.75. Perfect. 106.75. Bless you. Now, what is 100% as a decimal? 100.
Oh, I think you know.
Focus. 1. Now, what is 6.75 as a decimal? 0.0675. Same conversation I had yesterday with you. Just because there's a decimal in your percent does not mean it's in decimal form. You still have to do divide by 100. Because if not, the rest of your problem is going to be completely incorrect. What is 1 plus 0.0675? Yes, 1.0675. Okay, now for that final step of our 2-step problem. What did we say our new original was? times 0.75. And I don't have tons of space, so I'm kind of and I'm gonna go ahead and skip that one right there in the middle, and I'm gonna come to the last one. So remember, you use the decimal above, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do, and I'll write it in red so you can see I'm taking my original, so 49.99 times 0.75, and I'm gonna multiply it by 1.0675. And if I were to multiply that out, it would give me my final price for Marion's sweater. But because we're just looking for an expression, I'm going to leave it just like that. So when I go to my answer choices, what do those dots mean in the middle? Multiply. So would it mean the same thing as if I had it in parentheses? Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's just another way to write it. So let's look at answer choice A. It has 49.99 times 0.25. Would that be right? No. B, 49.99 times 0.75. So far, that's right. Then the last one is times 6.75. Is that right? No, because our last decimal is 1.06. Let's look at C. 49.99 times 0.725. Sorry. Is that right? No. So that leaves us with D. I check 49.99 times 0.75 times 1.0675, and that is correct. Make sure you're checking. So remember yesterday we talked about how these can be written in lots of different ways. So this is one way. This is another way. A third way that this could be written is if I multiply these last two decimals together, and I would have 49.99 times, can someone do 0.75 times 1.0 times 1.0675?
No, 0.8.
It's 37.49.
That's way too big. Hold on.
It's 0.80.
Okay, so what Randy said, yeah. Make sure you're just multiplying the last two. So this would be a third way that you can write it. So like yesterday's last problem, keep in mind that everything can be written multiple different ways. That doesn't mean you're changing your answer to be a completely different number. Oops, I always do that. I put it in student view, so now it's going to take 10 hours to change to student view. I should have just grabbed the eraser and erased. Trying to save time. Now I just wasted more. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our second problem. Okay, so same thing with this one. You're going to want to make more boxes than what are actually written out there for you. So let's go ahead and read through it. So it says, Julie purchased a pair of pants that originally cost $50. The pants were discounted 20%. and sales tax is 5%. Which expression would calculate the total cost of the pants? So we're going to go through and we're going to underline. And we're going to figure out what is our step 1 and what is our step 2. So Julie purchased a pair of pants that originally cost $50. The pants were discounted 20%. So our first step, is that an increase or decrease? It is a decrease. Are we adding or subtracting? We are subtracting. And sales tax is 5%. So that's our second step. Is sales tax an increase or a decrease? It is an increase, which means we're doing what? We are adding. Which expression would calculate the total cost of the pants? I want you to run through the first step of that problem. Run through the first step of that problem. We're going to be coming by and looking. If we see that you decline with the first step, we may ask you to move to the second step.
So the first thing you gotta do something is writing out of yeah. So like this column is right, but this. So two persons. Okay, the other is that issue and we have to don't forget to alter some of here. Then it's the then you do. I don't know. Huh? No. This, I said this column was right. This one was the one we had to fix. Because you had 75 in there. You had worked it out as if it was 25. So switch it back to 20. And you were fine. Oh. Yeah. I said the middle column is right, the last column is the one that's wrong. 80%. Okay, so our next is what? Right? That's fantastic. No. This is how we probably look at this, right? Make sure you bring it out. I mean, their nose is amazing. Because it's really like step by step. Yeah, as long as they write it down, they can be able to do any other problem. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, there's a second. Okay, this is right. This is right. Doesn't feel right. Put 5 divided by 100. Really good. This is going to be that. So, 5 divided by 100. You want to do another decimal. You always need to check 5%.
This one to make sure that we
Like when it's a single number, so if it's 7% or 8% or something like that, it's always going to be 0.
Keep going.
Because it's not your total. This is calling the 76%. That's one right. There's something for the process.
Because you might look back up and just pull that number instead of, right? It's just, you know, to help you make sure you pull the right number.
What's 100 minus 20? Use that calculator. Oh. What's 100 minus 20?
Okay, so that's your first step, right? All of that is right. But now we have to do it again.
What's the next step? I would like to know.
So you're gonna basically just do it the same time.
All right, what, try to figure it out.
I don't have $50, I have.
So you're right here.
This is what I
Right.
have.
So
And
the
so I
next
will
step,
bring this around.
we have
And I will kind of redo everything with the add and the sales tax.
Same, how do I find the 24 decimal? I will divide it by 100, so what is 20
And all of
divided by
this will be
100?
step one. And then step two, you'll take this, you do it to 100%. And then you'll be adding sales tax.
Okay, so I'm not hearing anything from people at home, so I'm assuming we're all okay. So I'm going to,
Make sure you don't use your additional signs.
So what is 1
Like
minus
you have it right there.
0.2?
I'm gonna go ahead and run through the first step, which I've seen on everybody's already.
So like, with one fraction of the answer, it's not set up for that. Otherwise, so there you go, it's that.
We copy the original amount again. And then make it this much, 50, No, you don't have to.
Okay, so go ahead and regardless of what you have, play on show your computer a second because I want to make sure people are paying attention. Because everybody is, I don't know why, during this, not close your computer, silly. Everybody during this unit, you're like working, so people don't pay attention to me. Okay, so I saw this on most people's. I didn't get to go to everybody, so I still have 4 people that don't have their computers clamshelled and your pencils are still moving, so that means you're doing exactly what I'm trying to prevent. So you should have step number 1 just fine. I had some people who weren't paying attention to their numbers, so we ended up with a different percent. Just make sure you're paying attention. So with our new original amount, for our second step, what is our new original? Yes, it's 50 times 0.80. I'm bringing over this over here, and it is my new original. So the second step runs through just like the first one. The only difference is that this is now my new original. We said it's an increase, but I still don't know my final price. And then my next 2 rows should look similar to these 2. I have 100%. It's an increase, so I'm adding. I should see plus signs on people's pages or screens. And I have 5%. Equals 105%. So I don't think we have an issue so much with the percent part. It's when we get to the decimals. When you have single digit percents, you need to put them in your calculator. Why? Because I'm seeing this turn into this. This is not right. This means you have 50%. This means you have 5%. So if you don't automatically know that 5% is 0.05, you need to check it in your calculator. Actually, you should check it in your calculator even if you think you're right. Why? Because it takes away that little bit of doubt. Because any number from 1 to 9, people always forget to add that 0. So we have plus 0.05, which gives us 1.05. Also, make sure you're putting this part in the calculator because I'm seeing people with 0.105, which is also incorrect. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put in my new original. I'm gonna skip this one. And what would my final answer end up being?
50 times 1 times 100.
Because I understand three people talking at the same time. It all sounded fantastic. So it's 50 times 0.80 times 1.05. So now I'm going to come up and look at my answer choices. It would be what? D. Good. So even though, again, it's not exactly the same because here I have 0.80, 0.8 is still the same thing. So my answer is D. Go ahead, I'm going to give it about 30 seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to read through it. You're going to do step 1. And you may or may not do step 2 on your own. For those of you at home, make sure you submit. Asegúrense que hayan oprimido el botón submit, porque si no ahora voy a continuar y no va a estar entregado, aunque no lo hayan terminado. Thank you. Okay, problem number 3. Combine with the table number 2. I just got to just give 2 tables to everybody at the beginning of class. I didn't think about it. Okay, so it says Michael is paid. Oh, I don't like this one. Hold on. That's like yesterday. Hold on. Okay, this one. Jose, how you doing? You see that one? So this one says a school store purchases mechanical pencils to resell to students. I should do that. The pencils were purchased for $1.32 each.
So expensive.
The store marked the pencils up 25%. I agree. Those are very expensive mechanical pencils. Students also paid 6% sales tax. Which expression can be used to calculate the final cost students paid for the pencil? Now, this is the kind of problem I like because you got to make sure you're paying attention to the words or people always do this wrong. So a school store purchases mechanical pencils to resell to the students like John. The pencils were purchased for $1.32 each. The store marked the pencils up 25%. So step 1, what does mark the pencils up mean I'm doing? It is an increase because I'm going to sell it to you for more expensive. So I'm adding some more money. Students also paid 6% sales tax. So is that an increase or a decrease? It's an increase. Sales tax is always an increase. See, look, that's one of those magical problems where you do increase 2 times. So pay attention and don't assume it's decrease and then increase. Which expression can be used to calculate the final cost? So go ahead and start working through your problem. Step 1.
Do you want to do a different one? Yeah, this one.
Yeah. They, make sure that you are putting your final work on the screen. Asegúrense que estén poniendo su trabajo en la pantalla para que yo lo pueda ver.
Title. Do the title first. And do it. Oh my God, quick. Look at your notes.
Acuérdense si están en la casa y necesitan ayuda o están confundidos, déjenme saber y yo puedo contestar con tu pregunta. You're gonna be more conscious of saying
See,
things in
Wednesdays
Spanish.
and Thursdays,
It's harder for me to say things in Spanish Wednesday and Thursday because I don't have any. Yeah. So it's just like, I need to make the conscious decision, especially with, you know. He was like the third person on. I'm still not even complaining.
yes, he was. He was done. Oh, yeah.
Because I can't see when you keep moving. Submit, so it's going to answer on the screen.
We already did, well, look at the answers,
Keep working.
well, for 10 cents.
If you need more tables for your faucet, because the faucet doesn't have to be a couple. If you guys need to do one for the faucet, then
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what I meant.
Hey, what did I do?
today's class is not similar. I just want you to answer. So you have to work out several problems and put in the answer. You'll see it. Finish that one real quick. And then if you have questions, ask the voice. You can stay. That's not what you do. Are you starting over? Yeah. Oh, no. Are you missing a puzzle? Because it looks like. Okay, hold on. Because it shouldn't look the same as yesterday's, because it's not yesterday's. That's what I'm saying. I think I just made a mistake.
I was so excited.